What is good, hunters? Welcome back to another video. Welcome to a guide to Ranger mode. I wanted to highlight this mode for players because I feel it's underrated and it's misunderstood. The game does not even introduce you to Ranger. Most players don't even know that we have that difficulty. Most players don't even know that we can change difficulties. So I decided to make a comprehensive guide, if you want to say so, to what Ranger really is. What is Ranger and why would you want to play it? Ranger is a mode for players who want the ultimate roll of the dice. They don't want any HUD, they don't want any displays on their screen, any kind of icons. They want nature and animals. That's it. And they want a challenge to their hunts. Now, Ranger is not a challenge per se when it comes to actual hunting, because as long as you understand the game and you've been playing for a while, you'll know how not to spook animals, you'll know how not to approach them and to approach them. So you'll have that under your belt. You'll have that experience. But when you go no HUD, the game is a different beast, because now you have to rely on your experience instead of what you see. So first of all, how do we select Ranger? Now you can go to story and you can select Ranger from here. You can actually play the story in Ranger mode if you want to. It's a serious challenge. Some of it may need you to have some kind of a UI element, but overall you can have a Ranger experience on story mode if you want to. The key thing we want to look at here is free hunts. Now free hunts was introduced a few patches ago, a few updates ago I should say, where you can skip the story. So players who don't want to indulge or interact with the story, they're able to come into free hunts. The main draw here is to be able to select what character you want. You can then select your difficulty, and Ranger is one of the options. It's all the way to the right. And as a result, a lot of players don't really know about Ranger because it's not at the forefront. The game doesn't give you any hints. It doesn't tell you about Ranger. All it tells you is that you can increase your difficulty. It doesn't state anything. But when you look at Ranger and what it says it's a tough, tailor-made experience for those seeking the highest challenge of immersion. Hunter sense is disabled. Auto mode is limited or has limited range. Turtles are off. No animal bodies are highlighted in the world. Blood trails are not highlighted. Blood spatter, etc. is less frequent. And that's the key thing here. You are being restricted with Ranger, which adds to the immersion of the game. Now, if you go into settings, and you go under Hunter Sense, you can actually customize Ranger if you want to. So if you play on other difficulties, you know that you can basically, look through your binoculars and you can see the ages of animals. Well, that's completely not available on Ranger. That's the only thing that's not available. Everything else you can have. You can display all the bullet impact positions. You can have all the identifications for the animals if you choose to do so. Right? But the whole idea of Ranger is that these are all off. You don't want or need a helping hand. You want to completely rely on your senses and your knowledge of the game. So when it comes to restrictions of the game, we just covered how you can customize what's in the game. Because when you go back to Hunter Sense, it will be unavailable. So we have turned everything off, which means there is no help in the game. So I have a need zone here. I can analyze it, but it's not highlighted. So by default, you can still pick up need zones as you go around in the world, but that's the only info you get. Now the key thing here is that you have no visual clues at all. Whatever you had on Hunter Sense, you will not see here. So animals that are running, all those sound bubbles, when you walk around and you hear an animal in the distance, and you hear that stick breaking sound, you won't get any visual clues. All you will hear is that stick breaking noise, which lets you know an animal is in the vicinity, but you have no clue what direction that is. All that is up to you. Now if you go to gameplay, under HUD elements, you can actually toggle the HUD display. So when you bring up your scope, or when you aim, you can see you have HUD info. You have zeroing, you have zoom, and all of this is available to you. You have the direction of your wind, what weapon you have, and you know your stance. Now, when you go to gameplay elements and you turn that off, that is not available to you. When you aim, you have no zoom, have no zeroing. Again, this is all something you have to manually do for yourself now. It changes the whole game when these are things you have to think about now, because when you aim at an animal, no, you got to think of, what is my zeroing? You have to memorize these things. So as you go around into the world, you'll realize that things become a little bit more challenging, because now you can't run around as you normally would on these other difficulties. And the reason for that is because when you're running around, when you get that sound cue that an animal is around, you need time to figure out where that's coming from. Since you don't readily see it on the screen with a sound bubble, you have to figure out where that's coming from. So if you're running around the world, you're putting yourself in a situation that you might be closer to the animal than you think. And you're going to spook a lot of animals, and you won't have a good experience. Since you don't have any kind of indication of wind direction, you can look at the clouds. Right now the clouds are moving from the back of us to the front, so we know that this is the direction we want to face. Sometimes the trees can tell you, but I wouldn't rely on that, or the grass. The most reliable is the clouds. So you want to go the opposite of what the cloud is, the direction the cloud is moving in. And this is the right direction we should be in. And if you want to confirm that, we can turn on the HUD, and you can see the arrow here is showing that we're in the right direction. So I'm just going to move over here to some animals that I heard. I think I heard some whitetail here, and an elk. So now you have to be aware of your surroundings. You cannot just willy-nilly run around. You have to be conscious of your wind now. You can also check your wind direction on the map. This purple smoke or glow is basically the direction that your scent is going. So you can check the map if you want to. Or you can look at the clouds, as we just mentioned. So as you move around the world, you want to be cautious. You're going to have to move a lot slower, a bit more methodical, because you simply do not know where animals are now. You don't have that forgiving sound cue, that bubble that pops up. So you're at the mercy of what you're hearing around you, proximity, and everything else. And hunting like this is so immersive. It changes the game. It makes it a whole lot more unreliable or unpredictable, if you want to say so. Everything becomes a roll of the dice, distance, you knowing where animals are. Everything becomes something you have to engage with now. It's no longer this mindless running around, seeing a bubble, go in that direction, scan, see an animal. No. You hear the cue now, you need to sit and think, okay, where is that coming from? When you kind of nail what direction it's coming from, now you got to figure out, okay, what is the direction? What is the distance between the animal and, and me? So all this stuff comes into play. So your approach becomes different. There's a lot more thinking involved, and it's an awesome thing. As you can see here, it's very hard to pinpoint what this elk is calling from. It sounds like it's over here, it sounds like it's over there. Again, you have to figure that out. We have no visual cues. But I think he's over here somewhere. So here he is. And since we don't have access to hunter sense, we cannot tell his star system, we can't tell his age. We have to visually look at him. And this is the beauty of Ranger. It all comes down to you and your judgment now. So now I gotta observe the animal. Look at the coat. Look at the rack. Look at the way he moves. It becomes deeply involved now. No longer am I just mindlessly running around, scanning the animals, seeing a star, moving on. No, I sit now and I observe the animals. I look at the rack and I say, okay, this guy doesn't really seem to be a high genetic animal, just based on the rack. I look at the coat, I can say he looks pretty old, mature. Now I gotta guess the genetics now. We can say, I don't know, maybe he could be in the 60s. I doubt he's gonna be in the high 70s or 80s. And this is what the game becomes. It becomes a roll of the dice, it becomes a judging scenario. And it's so immersive, it's so deep. It takes you far beyond what you think the game normally will offer you. And this is the depth that players don't get to see, because they're only introduced to hunter sense and explorer difficulty, if you want to say so. And some just stay on that. They never venture further, not realizing there's a deeper level to the game. Because if you want to herd manage now, you have no clue what star this animal is. And as a result, you're going to have to do some guessing. You're going to have to do some watching, some planning. You're going to have to write things down for yourself. No longer can you just say, okay, I got a 5-star in this area or a 4-star. I'm going to come back and check on him. You don't know that. So you don't even know if this animal is on the last year of its lifespan. Nobody knows. I don't know. Not even with the star system you do know. But with Ranger, you don't have any clue whatsoever. There's nothing to go on. And this is the most natural experience you can have. And to even have this is mind-blowing. Just to be able to have an option to hunt like this is absolutely incredible. If you look at the bow, same concept. You do not have anything telling you the zeroing of the bow in any fashion. So you have to memorize these things. You have to know what these things mean. You have to look at your equipment now and figure these things out. So everything becomes involved. I want to take a shot at this guy, but he's behind some rocks. So there won't be any cues telling you anything now. So what's happening is when you can't even see the animal, I won't say you're forced, but you feel more inclined now to take it slow. Because you have no clue what that animal is doing. There is no sound bubble giving you any kind of hint, telling you it's alert or calm. You have to figure that out. So you want to take your time. And really become immersed in the stalking process, which I feel most players don't do, again because they have all the sound cues around them. But when you don't, you naturally feel inclined to engage with the mechanics. And this brings a whole different element to the game. It makes it fun, if this is what you're into. So now we have a clear look at the animal. We're going to wait and see if we can get a nice shot on him. I'm using Grandpa's rifle, so we're going to have to be very... It's going to have to be a very good shot, if not we won't be able to take him down. And it becomes this waiting game. Your callers now become your best friend. This is how you weed out bad genetics. This is how you know animals are low genetic. Without this, you don't know. You can judge, but you don't know for sure. This is the key. Now all these tools are magnified now. You can choose to use these tools or not. If you want to be caller free, you can hunt that way also, if you want an extra challenge. But these things become even more important because you don't want to mess up your herds. So now hunting becomes a whole lot more involved and strategic. So far this guy is not responding, so we have to assume he's above 50. He's going about his way. I could try a shot from here. It's very risky, especially with this gun. But I'm trying to get his attention a little bit. There we go. So hopefully he turns and we can take a nice shot on him. So automatically I'm zeroed for 150 meters. So I know that. And that's where I keep it all through my hunts. You can change that if you want, but you gotta memorize that. If you want to take like a 400 meter shot. I definitely don't want to take a frontal with this gun at all. And these situations become very intense. Because now you're sitting and you're observing the animals. You don't want to make that bad shot, you see? So you gotta wait. Sometimes the window is very small. Take a shot. Sometimes you mess it up, sometimes you don't. Everything is intensified. And by doing this, you learn animal behavior, which is key. Which again, a lot of players miss. Because they're just looking at the star system. Here, by sitting and observing, you see the routines the animal go through. How they eat, how they drink, how they walk, their patterns. All of this becomes valuable information now. It's no longer just passive information that you forget. It's fully involved now. This guy's playing tricks on us. 1 minute he's turning, 1 minute he's not. And this is hunting, waiting for the perfect shot. And by doing this, you get to see how long an animal stays at its zone. That's a big question. How long would the animal stay at the zone? If you sit and you observe, you would see how long it takes. He's getting pretty close to us. If he comes any closer, I'll take a shot. If not, I'll just wait for that broadside. And this creates anticipation, right? Because you don't know what you're shooting. We have no clue. This could be a 3-star, a 2. And that's really what you're anticipating. You're waiting to see what your kill is going to be, because you just don't know. And these little things add up, and they add an element of awesomeness to the game, a realism, something that you would not really do naturally. Like starting on the lower difficulty, it's not something we'd really engage with. Like this time that we're spending here with this animal, we would never do if we had the star or hunter sense on. You just won't. You won't need to. So that was a great shot. So because we're using Grandpa's rifle, he might go a decent distance away. It's always key to check the blood first, which you can see here. There's a zone here, so I'm picking up that zone, but always look at the blood and see if it's even worth tracking, because sometimes you won't know. But we know, based on the way he's running away. He's hobbling, so we know that he's hurt. We got him good. But we gotta track the animal. It's not highlighted. It's gonna take some time to look. It can be very tough finding blood in this type of bushes, because of the color of the grass. So even tracking becomes immersive, it becomes a lot more involved. No longer can you just look and see stuff blinking. You have to look down now and look at the blood and track your animal. And this can take a very long time sometimes, depending where the animal is. They're running left and right, they're backtracking, they're up and down over ridges. It can be a nightmare at times. But this is why you play Ranger. You want that challenge, you want that roll of the dice. Because there are going to be times where you won't be able to find your animal. And you gotta give up. Just take the L, take the loss, and walk away. So as you can see, so I've covered that before. What you just saw is what they call, I believe, bedding. What happens is, when you shoot the animal and it's on the ground like that, it's actually breathing. So if you get to it early, the animal will get up and run a little ways. So to prevent that, just take your time and walk up to the animal. But if you rush it and you run to it, this will happen 9 times out of 10, depending on the species. So it's anticipation now. Let's see what we got. 21 meters out. We take a look at our harvest screen. We say, hey, that's a beautiful shot. Almost got to the heart. Love it. We got a 2-star, 52%. Awesome. And we knew that he would not have been anything great because of the antlers. Because you can see it, they look a lot different. So again, this is what Ranger offers. It gives you this full immersive roll up the dice system that you would not find anywhere else. And I think a lot of hunters are missing out on this deep gameplay, which offers a fantastic experience if this is something you're into. If you don't have the time, this is not your thing, then don't even touch Ranger. It will frustrate you. But if you're really looking for a different way to play, more real-life hunting, if you want to say so, as real as we can get, and Way of the Hunter and what it offers, this is the mood for you. And I wish the game showed you this more as a new player, so you can make a better informed decision as how you want to play. Because I feel there's a lot of players playing on lower difficulties, not realizing that there is something great, that there's a hardcore mood, if you want to say so, that they can actually sink their teeth in and have a different experience. And again, just to have this option is mind-blowing in a game. In other games like Call of the Wild and stuff, we don't have that option. Right? Here we do. And to be able to experience this, can't say enough, I can't recommend it enough. So that's basically what I wanted to cover, guys. Is how awesome Ranger is, how immersive it can be. It's just you in the world. Differentiating what different sounds are, knowing what animals sound like, where they're coming from, what direction, all this stuff becomes your job now. And which it should be, because you're the hunter. It makes you feel like you're a hunter now. There is no help, there is no aid to aid you in your hunts. It's all by sound and observation now. And I think as long as you play this way, the game gains a whole new level of longevity. Because herd managing in this mood, trust me, you're not seeing 5 stars very often. And again, if that's not your thing, you won't like that. But if you're up for it, you might get a 5-star once every 2 months. And I'm being very modest about that. Right? So you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to shoot a lot of 4 stars. You're going to shoot a lot of animals before they actually reach the end of their maturity. This is all a part of the game. This is what you're getting into. So I just wanted to let hunters know that, to kind of, bring them into the fold as to what to expect. And maybe reveal something that they never knew that was here. Try Ranger, let me know what you think. Let me know if you're enjoying it. If you have time to dig in, you would love it. If you don't, again, this is not for you. So let me know in the comments what you think. If you play on Ranger, if you love it, you don't like it, what would you like for them to add to it or remove? Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening.